Hello everyone, and welcome back to another sport creation video. For today's creation, we're going to be making the Reaper Wyvern from Ark Survival Evolved. This is of course a entirely made up fan concept, and the entire idea of this was based on the fact that extinction is looming around the corner. For all I know, it could be released today as of making this video. There's an announcement happening today, and as a result, several of us on the Discord server were discussing it, just getting excited, throwing around ideas and such. And one idea suggested was the concept of cross-breeding between species, as sort of mutations or, element-based experiments and kind of such. So, with us being a very heavily creative community, we started throwing around ideas, throwing around what species could crossbreed with which, and all the potential possibilities. One of which mentioned was a Reaper Queen and a Wyvern. And that really got me thinking, and in the end spawned this creature here. And I'll get into more about that in a while. For the beginning of this creature, I did go ahead and load up my own previously made Reaper Queen that I made during Aberration's announcement, or Aberration's release. And the reason why I decided to base this creation, or begin this creation with that, was so I could keep the head. Since this is obviously going to have wings, it's obviously going to have some very clear and obvious dragon aspects, I wanted to have some of the Reaper's features to be really crystal clear, and the head seems like a very strong start. Of course, with a couple of changed features, such as her snout to be longer and thinner, much like the Dodo Wyvern or the Dodo Rex. She will have a couple of extra features. The frill will be a little bit different, a little bit more web-like, as opposed to the current Reaper Queen crest featured in Aberrations. And basically just to try and overall strike a balance between the two. As much as I strongly enjoy making hybrids and just combining and mishmashing ideas between each other, it is very easy to make a creature look too far on the one side and just have random features from the other. And I figured with this creature, it's a very likely chance it's gonna have great big wings. It's probably gonna have a very long tail. By this point in the video I decided it would, and other draconic features. But the whole Reaper Queen aspect, the crest is obviously a major part, probably the bipedal stance would be another. The colour scheme, I was hoping to go for a bit of a dragon kind of thing with like scales as opposed to leather. But again, I kind of explored that later on and decided to change my mind. But of course, with all the initial creating the form of the creature, having something I was fairly happy with, having the tail in place, having the head ready but a little bit different, I've now begun on the feet. And of course, gone with the usual technique I've been obsessing over lately. I decided to use these purple limbs here just to have a bit of a difference, basically. The entire point of the purple limbs was to have it be different rather than just pure fleshy parts. I didn't want to use the exoskeleton ones either, as they don't really texture quite the way I'd like them to. I just wanted a bit of extra definition. And here I went ahead and made some custom hands using the newly installed Spore Stacking mod. And I want the custom hands just simply so that one, I can make them as I wanted. I wanted her to have very large and intimidating claws, but also so that it would suit the general theme and style of the feet as well. As quite often what I've been noticing myself lately is that as I've been making all these custom feet, the hands tend to look very bare and boring by compare. But thanks to the Spore Stacking mod I have installed recently, custom hands are now also a thing, and they don't animate too badly either. At this stage in the video, I am focusing a lot more on the head, as, since I mentioned earlier, I wanted her to have a Reaper Queen head. I wanted that much to stay the same, but with some very key differences, and certain things such as how broad and how round her nose was, or her snout. It felt too Reaperish. I wanted to go in the direction of a Dodo Wyvern, or more like an Ark Wyvern in general. As like I said, I want to try and have a proper hybrid, a balance of everything. A bit of Wyvern here, a bit of Reaper there. And I felt like having the snout to be overall a little bit more detailed, having more things going on, having, traditional dragon nostrils or just reptilian nostrils more like, having the snouts just be longer. All these things just kind of help tie it all together, just make it still looks like a Reaper, with major differences that are rather quite subtle in a way. I guess major subtlety doesn't really make sense, but hopefully you can understand the gist of it here. So by the time I was happy with the general form of the creature, the arms, the legs, the pose and posture, all that kind of stuff, I decided to move on to the wings. And I'm well aware, so I know I'm going to get this a lot, so I'm just going to say it right now. I'm aware that Wyverns they have one set of wings, one set of back legs, and that's it. And I know that this is technically more dragon than Wyvern, but very simply put, the name Reaper Wyvern is intentional because it is, after all, a fire wyvern bred with or mutated, whatever you want to call it, crossbred with a Reaper Queen. If I was to call this the Reaper Dragon, it would have an entirely different meaning, a different impression, interpretation, etc. So I'm aware that the whole Wyvern name is technically kind of inaccurate, but I'm thinking more of the combination of species, the two independent species mashed together, not the actual outcome of the creature itself when it comes to the naming process. But when it came to the wings, so I had the idea in mind of having, while it is of course based on the Wyvern, based on the Fire Wyvern, as you can see by the placement of the claws, the extra little spikes and claws along the membrane, while it's very much based on the Wyvern, I decided to have the wings similar to that of the dragon in the islands. That way, as a finished creature, it would look more interesting, as opposed to if it was to walk around on big wings, it would look kind of strange to see in Spore. And I also really like the idea as an additional mechanic. I'm imagining this as a boss. And I thought what would be a really neat mechanic is if every now and then, periodically, she can rear her wings in the air and cocoon herself as a shield to protect herself. So the wings are probably not necessarily actually useful for flying itself. I'm imagining very much like a rock drake, in which case she could crawl along the surface of the ceilings, on the walls and such. She could glide and jump. She's got very strong legs, and Reapers are known for having mental jumps anyway. And for the additional bonus of cocooning herself, shielding herself with her wings. Especially with the whole Reaper aspect, I kind of imagine the wings being rather strong, like a bit of an exoskeleton kind of thing, so not entirely functional for flight, but it has its other uses and purposes instead. When it comes to the tail, I was imagining very typical Reaper thing, but I wanted to have a bit more Wyvern in there, because by this point of the creation, it's just starting to feel like a Reaper with wings, and that's not what I wanted. So I added all the spikes along the tail, much like the Frost Wyvern. I added some flare, some spines, some sails and such, kind of like a combination of the Poison's Wyvern, the tail, the little frills at the end, and technically around the face as well. A couple of other bits here and there, but also having the whole poison aspect, having, you know how the Reapers can shoot poison or toxins or whatever from their tail. I wanted to retain that. I haven't decided if that's going to be used for breeding as well, as Reapers breed by impregnating a host. I've not decided that's going to be the case either. I think it would be quite more interesting for this to be a unique, singular boss creature, as opposed to something breedable or tameable or whatever. Maybe, you know, if this was ever to appear in Ark, maybe it could be tameable if you defeat it. I've not thought about it that far, but what I have thought about in terms of mechanics is she would have a fire breath, that of a fire wyvern. She would retain basically all the aspects of the tail, much like a Reaper Queen or Reaper King. The whole having a slow or having the toxins, all that kind of stuff, which you will see emphasised in effects later on. And otherwise, it's just all the other mechanics, such as the climbing, such as the shielding that I mentioned earlier. As I was finishing up with the creature, it did start to feel like that the rear area behind the legs, where in a lot of typical dragon creatures or concepts, you tend to have more of the wing kind of attached to the tails, and as many of you may know, that's a very hard thing to obtain in sport. So what I decided to try and do instead was to have a bit of a balance. Imagine the frills on her face, that same material around her tail, attached to the wings, so it all kind of hybridizes the entire thing. Probably not actually, you know, plausible, but it is just a fun concept after all. I had that there to balance out the textures, to balance out so that the frill texture wasn't on the face alone, but on the body as well. That way that singular texture isn't just randomly placed in one spot, as is a bit of an issue when it comes to spore creating. And also just to have more weight there, just to make it look like a little bit more believable that she could glide, that she just has more, you know. I guess that's the biggest thing at the end of this. I try to add more and more to really just, I keep on repeating it, but to just hybridize the entire concept. It's always my biggest concern when it comes to making hybrids, is leaning too far in one direction and not enough in the other. While this could very well be argued to be simply a Reaper Queen with wings, I definitely hope that it feels like there's more to it, with how big the wings are, how different her frill is, all of the spikes and armour and everything else going on, especially the tail. Hopefully that's all come together well enough in the end. And when it came to the colour scheme, I actually decided to go with an Indominus-esque kind of colour scheme in the end. I did play around with the Reaper Queen's colours. I did play around with various Wyvern colours, so I tried a bit of blue, tried a bit of red and brown, tried a bit of black. And in the end, I felt like all these dark colours were just getting too repetitive. And I haven't entirely decided, but since after all the Reapers were cave dwellers, and this is meant to be a very strange mutated hybrid of sorts, I kind of felt like going with an albino feel would be significantly more intimidating, as is, you know, represented in the Indominus Rex in Jurassic World. And I have to say, not only Not only because I think it just looks cooler overall, I think it actually looks more creepy as a result, but also it actually did tie together all the textures of the Spore much better. All of the more vibrant or darker colours I could find were causing bits and pieces of the creatures just to texture weirdly and inconsistently, whereas this lighter colour scheme has overall, in my opinion, tied everything in perfectly. And overall, this is the result, and I have to say I am extremely happy with how this came out. For what was just a happy, random idea thrown around during a Discord conversation, I am really happy about this. I doubt we'll ever get anything like this in Ark. I actually doubt the whole crossbreeding thing will be a thing, and I'd happily be proven wrong. But just for the sake of throwing ideas around, having a bit of fun with the concept, and imagining what certain species would be like if crossbred together, I just had a lot of fun. I just had a lot of fun coming up with this, and I have to say, if one day I can learn how to mod, I can learn how to animate this, I would definitely look into try and get some of those mechanics involved in the creature. But that otherwise is it. Let me know what you guys think about this creature, and let me know what you're thinking about Extinction. This entire creature was made based on the hype of Extinction coming out, so I've got no idea what the features are, but I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll find out later today. As always guys, thank you all very, very much for watching. If you like the commentary, please let me know. If there's anything I can improve upon, absolutely let me know. Otherwise, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do subscribe and hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified of further uploads. And as always, a tremendous thank you to all my patrons and to all my supporters for making all of this possible. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you all in the next creation.